Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the Coin Drop Podcast. This is episode number 45, and for those of you joining us on Twitch, Steam. For those of you joining us
you
on
have a Steam curator page,
we do. For those of you joining us live, you can see my co-host up here in the corner is smoking a stogie. That's why. That's where I got Steam from, I guess. It's actually smoke, but Tim's having a smoke.
Close enough, I guess.
Yeah. And we're back. Thank you for joining us. Tim, let's start the episode how we always do. How was your week? What'd you get up to?
Uber Eats. That's what I've been up to. Oh, man. Without making everyone feel bad about me, my financial situation sucks right now because basically the world said, fuck you. To give everyone just a tiny little bit... I like looking up a lot of things. So much so that the one of the people that I work with currently has actually like interrupted me while I've spoken many times where they're like, why are you in electric work? Like, why do you do this low education shit? Effectively is what they've been telling me. But anyways, one of the things I read recently was 3 years ago, the average family could live relatively comfortably on $60,000 a year, $59,000 more specifically.
Yeah.
And over the last 3 years, not a single month have we paid less for consumer products than the month prior.
Yep.
So every week every month it's gone up. It's now $109,000 you need to make to be comfortable. But without trying to be political about that, that's making me in a really bad position because I've got plumbing to pay for, got an air conditioner to replace, I've had tires to replace, a tooth to replace with a root canal, and one other thing I can't remember, but it's like $15,000 in the past couple of months. So I'm like, I can't enjoy my hobby anymore. Although I did play Helldivers 2 the other day, and I enjoyed that because spreading democracy is always fun.
You just got to actually play the games you own instead of buying more every time something comes out.
I'll stick to that after Dragon's Dogma 2.
Oh, sorry. Give me a second here. My headphones just beeped at me like they're going to die, so I'm going to fix that. There we go. Throw money into the abyss and pray, basically. Yep, Mike's got it on lock.
That's about right.
Yeah, no, I make more money now than I ever have. My wife makes pretty decent money, and it feels like we're still both making $18 an hour. So, yeah, I feel you, man.
Well, the problem is that's a little less than I make now, and Anna makes very little. So, on the positive side, in like 6 years, something like that.
Well, once you
I'll be in a really good place. But the good thing is I have something to look forward to, so I'm really I'm not sweating it too much.
Yeah. I mean, journeymen do make a good amount of money, so you just got to make it there. You're also in Louisiana. Yep. I'm in Washington. Very different costs of living in both of those places. Yep. But it's definitely not great, and I don't think that is really a political view. It's just not great.
Yep. Things just aren't great right now. That's really all it is.
On my side, things have been okay. A little crazy. Today, I actually finally got my new exhaust put in on my Xterra. It's kind of wild how much better an exhaust sounds when it's not broken in half. Having a normal conversation having a normal conversation at 70 miles an hour was kind of nice. So I'm very happy to have that project done. It's one more off the docket.
Gonna be honest with you, Mike, I don't know what the hell burble pop means, so you're gonna have to explain that to me.
That is an exhaust term for your shit's broken.
Yeah. I'm not much of a car guy, so
yeah, I know. That's why I don't share too much of the car stuff because there's a lot that I'm into. But yeah,
all good.
Got my new handlebar for my motorcycle that I actually really like. Nice. So that's cool. I like the stance. I got my bar end mirrors on there too. Looks good. I like riding. Weather's finally getting good, so hoping I can ride it to work tomorrow. Monday. What day is it? What week is it? Where am I? Who are you?
Today is Saturday. Tomorrow is Sunday. So hopefully you can drive it tomorrow.
Yeah, sure.
Correct, Mike. We're not talking about motorcycles today, though. Okay, so
we're talking about the 1992 classic Sega Genesis hit Road Rash. I don't think it was 92. I think it was like 95.
Road Rash was the shit, though, and hell, the remake, the spiritual successor. What would they call that? Road something.
I don't remember.
It doesn't matter. There was a spiritual successor that came out, I think, actually early PS4 gen, but it was actually pretty good. I have to say that.
1% asked if I made my daughter help me install it.
I hope so.
I did not, but she did come home from Costco with the wife with flowers for me. So that was very cool.
Nice.
She did.
She left roses by the stairs. Surprises let me know she cares.
Yeah.
Sorry, that's the 1990s in me.
Yeah, I was under the fucking truck and I hear her go, "Daddy," and I look up, which is, towards the front of the car, and she's like crouched down holding a bouquet of roses. She's like, "I got these for you," and I'm like, "All right, cool, thanks, kid, love them."
Did Faith tell you if it was her idea or not?
No, it was not. It was 100% Maury. She wanted to get me flowers. Yeah,
that's awesome.
Yeah,
that's
it's very
awesome.
cool. And Mike said, "And copyrighted." All right, let's talk about some games. Enough preamble. I hate it when podcasts do that. I'm sure a lot of people do. So let's get into some shit. There's been some rumors. There's been some leaks. There's been some news. There's been some announcements. Let's discuss a couple of them kind of quick. On screen right now, we've got a stand-in for Ghost Recon, PUBG, and then old school RuneScape. You might wonder what all three of these have in common. Let me answer that for you. Absolutely nothing.
Nothing.
Absolutely nothing. Other than that, we're talking about them.
Yeah.
So there's
us. Us is the connection.
Yes, that's it. That's what you have to go off of. There has been a recent rumor saying that a new Ghost Recon is not far away. Apparently, it's a rumor, kind of a leak, unconfirmed sources, blah, 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 blah. Long story short, it appears that the next Ghost Recon is targeting a 2025-2026 release window. That's
not close enough.
Correct. They're saying they're going back to their roots. They're also, like all games do, advancing, making new choices, trying to do things to keep the genre fresh, keep the franchise fresh. Ghost Recon, supposedly the next one, will be going back to a first-person shooter, which...
well, not hyper, but more realistic than the last couple of games as well, right? Yeah.
Yeah, so I don't know what your thoughts were. I personally really liked Breakpoint. I never got a chance to play Wildlands, but I thought Breakpoint was a lot of fun. I loved how much customization you could do in that game to take it from like an RPG to a more realistic third-person shooter, take the damage numbers out of it, take the gear numbers out of it, and just play it as a shooter was really cool. I was a big fan of the game.
Ghost Recon, my quick thoughts on that. Ghost Recon Breakpoint is literally the bar for customization in video games as far as, gameplay. Like you said, going from an RPG that tells you, that points out everything, makes things shine, etc. and so on, to super realistic, to like, holy shit, I got to pay attention to literally all the things and everything in between.
Yeah.
There is no other game like a Breakpoint that gives you that level of freedom to customize the type of experience you play.
Yeah.
That I wish more games would look at and go, we need to do that on all of them. Everything.
Mike does mention here that the guy was a reputable Ubisoft leaker. He is correct. He supposedly is, but again, they don't say who the source is or even an alias for him, so who knows? Just taking this at face value. The goal is to go back to a first-person shooter, like the classic good old days, as well as be focused more on squad-based gameplay and military simulation style elements. So more realistic, more grounded, that kind of focus. I don't want to say think Arma or Arma or Arma, or there was another one, Squad. Chris is going to kill me for not remembering. It's a game he tells me about all the time. Anyways, I don't want to say quite that because we don't know, but those are two games that are labeled as milsims, so just keep that in mind.
Yes. Arma is one of the best milsims you can get.
Yeah. Supposedly the story is going to be more focused on a darker tone. Reportedly, it's going to be you and your squad are infiltrating a war zone to track down a traitor. According to Inside Gamers reports, quote, the game appears to take heavy inspiration from Modern Warfare series with some potential dark or controversial missions and segments. There's also talks that the title is going to be significantly upgraded in terms of visuals. That to me tells me it is highly likely it's going to be on UE5. Just immediately. It seems like the smart choice. It's been 2019 was when Breakpoint came out, so it's been 5 years?
It's a long time.
Yeah.
And highly likely they haven't been working on it all that time either. So in order to be able to release it in a decent timeline, they would need an engine that allows them to basically kick it into high gear from the beginning. And that would make the most sense to me. Unless, of course, they take what they already have and, I don't know, adjust it as they go.
Yeah.
To fit modern hardware.
Who knows? I think, again, I said this last week, eventually modern studios, big AAA studios, are going to make the move to UE5. Just a matter of time. 1% asked if I was talking about SOCOM. I am not, but that is a great franchise. It is a game literally called...
Fucking wish. Yeah. Please, Sony, bring back SOCOM. I'm sorry, keep talking.
You're good. The game I'm referring to, I just looked it up, is in fact called Squad. It is a milsim game where you play pretty much milsim. My buddy Chris has been begging me to get on it and play it with him. One day I will, because it actually does look fantastic. I do really want to play that game. But back to this. That's pretty much all we have on Ghost Recon. Big fan of the franchise. I remember one of my earliest memories with this franchise was I was playing the first game with my brother on co-op, and we were both like ghillie suit snipers, and we were looking through the scope at a hotspot, and my brother was like, "Is that a guy?" And I'm like, "I don't think it." We're talking like 2 pixels on a PS2, man. It was impossible to tell. I'm like, "Nah, man, there's no way that's a guy." "Yeah, I think it's a guy." Takes the shot, and we just hear target eliminated, and we're just like, what the because there's no bullet drop or anything. You fire a gun back in PS2, it just goes until it hits something. So he was like 8 miles out making this shot. We were looking at 2 pixels on a screen, and he killed a dude. And that was one of my...
Reminds me of makes me think of Battlefield. Think of whatever Battlefield you feel like, where people are literally sniping across the map, and you can't see shit other than just like a pixel or two. Like
that one actually takes skill though, because you got to account windage and drop and range. Like those shots are impressive as hell. But that's Ghost Recon. Let us know if you're looking forward to it. Chat to us in the Discord. Let us know if you like Ghost Recon.
Let us know what you thought about Breakpoint and or Ghost Wildlands, because personally, real quickly, I thought Wildlands was a really good ace for a modern open world setting, and it did a really good job of allowing customization and co-op features built in the game. And the Breakpoint built upon that, especially when, like I said, in the settings feature, in such a really good way. But unfortunately, Breakpoint didn't do as well as it should have, in my opinion. And it'll be interesting to see them return to the roots of the series.
Mike mentions he thinks it's highly likely that they're just going to advance their own engine because Ubisoft is still, for some reason, pro in-house engine. I don't know how anybody is at this point, but sure.
Which I actually am looking at the list of Unreal Engine games, and I'm trying to find any modern Ubisoft games, and I'm not really able to find anything newer than about 2016, I think. So he is 100% correct.
Yeah.
They probably won't be UE. It'll probably be Snowdrop or something, which I wouldn't be upset with.
I just wishful thinking because I want to play it in VR. That's all I'm saying. And thanks to Praydog, thanks to Praydog, everything in UE5 can be played in VR. But that's besides the point. Let's move on to PUBG. Not a whole lot to talk about here. I have a very love-hate relationship with this game. It is my abusive ex-wife for sure. And for some reason, I continue to go back to her. And I might yet again go back to her. Tim's Discord audio is nice and static filled.
Great.
Nice. Cool.
Unfortunate.
That's very unfortunate.
Discord audio. Well, hopefully that's not a problem on the actual
Here's open.
side.
Here's open. So
if you can understand me, my internet's been like on and off over the past week or so, and it's been really frustrating. So maybe that's the cause.
It's said now it's fixed. Who knows? PUBG has announced a roadmap for 2024, and they're making some changes. Namely, I guess, the big change, they are going from UE4 to UE5. It's a big switch. That means, you're going to see the same graphical fidelity and overhaul that you saw from Fortnite going from UE4 to UE5. So it's going to be a very big changeover. Potentially.
Similar.
Potentially.
I say similar because one's more of a realistic shooter. The other one's obviously.
I just meant in terms of like frame rate, animation quality, like features. That stuff. Yes. The bare
ray tracing and the like.
Potentially. I'm not going to say for sure. They're just moving to UE5. They're also adding destructible environments, which I'm very interested in, because that brings back some like Battlefield Bad Company 2 vibes to me. They specifically say that you'll... Go ahead.
I was gonna say the images I saw sort of suggested the guy was holding a pickaxe.
Yeah.
That's weird.
I'm going to talk about that.
Okay.
So
well, that's weird to me, mostly because like that suggests Fortnite levels of destruction, which means you then have to collect items, which means you then have to build. But maybe this was just promotional, or I don't know, some dumbass on the internet creating something stupid, which is causing me to be sidetracked. It would make more sense to me to be more like Rainbow Six Vegas in the sense of destructible environments, to be more realistic, and you can shoot through walls or whatever it may be.
I think it's going to be more closer to Battlefield. I feel like, because they specifically say here, strategically destroy sections of buildings and build defensive barriers. Now, when they say build defensive barriers, my thought there is, like you saw with the pickaxe, digging into the ground. Not so much building anything as you're digging down to create a foxhole. That's my thought. But maybe you are collecting resources now. If so, fuck that, because I don't want to play Fortnite. That's just my thoughts.
I would hope that it's Battlefield-esque in the sense of you don't actually have to collect any resources, and that there's just like specific nodes that you can say build a barrier in to protect you for various reasons. You know, the choke point or whatever.
As long as it's not fucking Fortnite where like you shoot a guy and because you didn't instantly kill him, he now has played DDR on his controller and can build a house and now you've got nothing. I fucking hated that in Fortnite. I was that's why I was thinking more Battlefield. Battlefield just has very specific nodes that you can build walls or whatever it is, like fortifications and such, right? And that would in my mind make more sense in a game like PUBG. I agree.
I'd say a Fortnite.
I feel like they're going to try and stay to the realistic sim that they are. I hope they are. With that said, they are improving game modes. Still no word on whether or not they're bringing back duos. Fucking bring back duos. Well, improving game modes.
Took away duos?
Yeah, dude, they took away duos years ago. Yeah, third-person view duos has been gone for a long time, and it's I'm hoping maybe it's coming back, but unlikely. They're improving game modes, meaning adding more.
Makes me think of Game Crazy.
They're improving game modes.
I've actively called Game Crazy. If it makes sense and it makes money, then get rid of it. Sounds like that.
The game mode improvements they're making, they're planning on adding more modes for more casual players. So maybe we'll see. I mean, you say that, but dude, let me tell you, as a player of that game, what sucks is going into a match and knowing that you're going to get got by some fucking tryhard who's trying to get on some pro team. Like, that's all that happens in that game. As a normal person with a job and a family and shit like that, playing that game and having enjoyment is minimal. It's very short-lived.
Maybe that's why I've moved away from multiplayer games that are competitive, because I don't have the time to be...
Yeah, they're ridiculous. It's just ridiculous. Anyways, they're adding more game modes. They've promised, I'm putting this in air quotes, to improve their anti-cheat. It doesn't matter if you're not improving your game modes and separating out your player base, because your fucking tryhards are annoying because they're not hacking. They're just that good. And I don't want to play with those people. Just my take.
That's why you have matchmaking, though, or you have a skill-based matchmaking.
They say they're going to improve the matchmaking. They say they're going to add more modes for more casual players. That includes me, because I don't want to play with a bunch of fucking tryhards. They say they're going to improve anti-cheat. All of those have me going, okay, maybe I'll give my ex-girlfriend another shot. Maybe. Keep in mind, I've spent like 500 hours, no joke, on this game. So, like, yeah, when I say it's an abusive relationship, it's an abusive...
Sorry.
Yep, I am too, buddy. I would... me too. Me too.
So just in case you don't know this already, because I've probably said it over the last year, I don't care for BRs. Yeah, I've tried... Actually, on a lot, not just PUBG and Fortnite, but I've tried on like Spellforce or Spellbound or whatever the fuck it was called. It was a magic fantasy based one. I've tried so many, like even the Battlefield one, and I fucking love Battlefield. This is genre. It's a genre that's not for me, and therefore I can't get into them. And I'm not denying they're decent and good, and people enjoy them. Whatever, do your thing. They're just not for me.
Yeah. Understandable, because I hate myself every time I play it, so I get it. The last thing that they're adding is player-created content. just like Fortnite. So I'm kind of curious to see what that ends up being. I really hope that this game doesn't go too stupid. It's already gone stupider than it used to be, so we'll see.
They're chasing a trend. They're not going to catch it.
No, they're not, because that's not what PUBG is, and they continue to try and be what PUBG isn't. It's fucking infuriating.
They're not gonna win. If anything, they're gonna get a small section of their player base back.
So
but it's gonna be extremely minimal.
Here's the wild thing. We say that, but PUBG still has incredibly active player count. Now, in my opinion, 99% of that is fucking bots, because their anti-cheat is so shit.
Right.
But I can't prove that. But their numbers, are in the millions constantly. Supposedly.
No, they have a big player base. I'm not saying they have a small player base. I'm saying that they're not going to gain new players because of this. I don't expect it.
They might get some returning players like myself, but I don't think people are going to go, oh, well, I play Fortnite, now I'll play PUBG. I don't think that's what's going to happen.
Yeah, exactly. The PUBG Fortnite has done such a good job of constantly adding new things and unexpected ways to get people to play. Like, there's been multiple times where I've been like, maybe I should play that.
No.
Not once have I ever considered that for PUBG, other than when it was new.
Yeah. That being said, that's pretty much it for PUBG. They're doing a preview of their destructible environments in April. No real announcement as to when in April, other than I guess you might get to check it out. I don't know. They didn't really elaborate on what that is, but there you go. If you're a PUBG
player. Did they
player.
give any sort of expectation as to when UE5 will launch?
They might have in their actual video, but their video is 24 minutes long, and I did not have time to watch it all. They did not. Yeah, I did not. I did not get a chance to watch it. So, but it doesn't say it in the written article.
Not worth it for non-super fans.
Yeah. I mean, I'd be interested to watch it, but it's something I definitely have on in the background while I'm doing something else. But that's PUBG. Now, for our last quick fire topic, even though these have taken a little bit longer, it's all right. You got more content. Don't worry. This isn't the end of the episode. Good night, everybody. No, I'm just kidding. The creator of Runescape is launching a new MMO after 10 years in development. This game's been in development for 10 years. So Brighter Shores, being produced by Andrew Gower, I believe is how you say his name. He is the legendary creator of RuneScape, which is why that's up here on our lovely screen as well. RuneScape's got a special place in a lot of people's heart, and it's a really wild game because it seems like it spreads across every generation. Like, I have met people significantly younger than me, and I'm talking like early 20s, that play RuneScape. And not like a new RuneScape, but like old school, what we played on fucking dial-up RuneScape. And that's wild to me. So
RuneScape, when did RuneScape launch? Do you remember? Do you have any idea when that game came out?
Early 2000s.
Okay, so we're talking close to 24 years. We'll say 20 years. We'll say it's been available for 20 years.
Yeah.
And while there are other games that have been available a similar amount of time, i.e., say EverQuest, but this is different.
Yeah.
This is different in the sense of that it's been prominent. EverQuest died a long time ago.
Yes.
Effectively.
WoW killed it. WoW killed it for sure.
Yeah, no, 100%. And for some reason, RuneScape has managed to keep players and or gain players.
So I think a lot of that is the devs themselves. Actually, my DM still plays it constantly. He talks about how the team, who are they? Fen Research is their name. Constantly listen to the player. Yeah, they constantly listen to the player fan base. They take what the fans say to heart. They try and implement new stuff. They continue to add to this game, and it's a free-to-play game. It has launched free-to-play. There is a subscription model you can pay for, which gets you extra stuff, but they've continued to support it for over 2 decades, at least over 2 decades. It's quite the fucking achievement. So,
I mean, to be a little bit fair to the gaming industry, it's not exactly the most graphically intensive, so supporting and adding content to it isn't a hard thing to do.
I would argue it's probably harder because of the age of the engine. The engine hasn't changed. Like, they can't graphically increase old school RuneScape, which is why they made the new one. Like, they made a new RuneScape because the graphics are just, it is what it is.
But that would be why it's easier to add stuff too. It's cheaper. you need less people. You can just take the code that exists already and,
I mean, arguably,
develop
you
whatever you need for those areas and monsters and content and stuff like that. It'd be significantly easier than remaking the game, or in this case, making a new game. Although they're making a new game in hopes of continuing to be relevant, I guess.
So I'm going to start this off. They are making a new game. It's called Brighter Shores. It is... Look up the screenshots of this game are beautiful. It looks like old school RuneScape with like crisp graphics. It's gorgeous.
It's already on Steam, mind you. Mm-hmm. So go look it up on Steam.
Yep, look it up on Steam. That is where it will release. It is aiming for a Q3 2024 release on Steam. It will be free to play.
It's basically a pretty RuneScape, although
more.
That's arguable, especially by today's standards. But in comparison,
comparison to RuneScape, it is pretty. It's a game I would play. I would definitely play Brighter Shores. But let's talk about it a little bit. So they're aiming for a Q3 release. Their release model, it's going to be free to play. Very similar to old school RuneScape and RuneScape. You'll have a subscription model, which gets you access to a couple of different things, features, classes, things of that nature. Pretty much exactly like RuneScape.
Basically RuneScape 2, just not called RuneScape 2.
Their idea is, I guess their statement that they put out, that Andrew put out for this game, is he wanted to create a relaxing respite from daily life. Now that's where the game starts, according to this interview. That's not where the game ends. It basically starts you off as just a guard in a town, sleepy little town, and then shit kicks off, which already tells me that there's going to be a far deeper story to this than there was the original RuneScape. Now, it's been years since I've played.
Understandably.
And by like years, I mean like over a decade since I've played RuneScape, so I don't know what's changed there, but when I played it, there wasn't really a story. There's a little bit of a story, not that much.
I honestly think the way RuneScape evolved, when they released old school RuneScape, like 4 years ago, something like that, I think that actually got more popular than the modern RuneScape. So people liked the old school method, and therefore, and that one was very like almost D&D like, where you could just kind of do what you wanted. And so this one having more of a focused story, I think that's where they're sort of trying to bridge the gap between old and new players.
Yeah. I'm interested in it from what they said about it. They've announced 3 classes so far: Cryo Knight, Hammer Mage, and Guardian. Those are the 3 classes that they've announced so far. They've also said there will be more than that. Everything's new. It's not just ported over from RuneScape. It's all completely rebuilt from the ground up to be new. They're also, this is the one thing I don't necessarily agree with, because to me that's what an MMO is all about. They're seeking to minimize the grindy gameplay of games in this genre. MMOs are about the grind. It's not about the finish line. WoW made it about the finish line, and it ruined MMOs in my opinion. MMOs were about the grind, so you felt like you actually achieved something.
It's the journey to the end, not the end, that matters.
Yes, correct.
That's what I loved about Final Fantasy XI so very much.
Yeah, that's what I loved about a lot of MMOs, is it's about a lot of older MMOs, is it was about the journey. So I don't necessarily like that, but I'm curious to see how it plays out. There's also, of course, going to be a huge number of professions, just like RuneScape. You're going to have the ones they've announced so far is fishing, foraging, chef, woodcutter, miner, alchemist, stonemason, merchant, blacksmith, and many more. So tons of professions. It's built on FinForge, the same engine that RuneScape runs on, just probably retooled and adapted to run their new stuff. And Andrew said this in an interview. He said, quote, "Creating this game has been a real labor of love. At times it felt like an insurmountable task, so it's amazing to finally see it coming together in the way I hoped. I can't wait to see the world full of players enjoying what we have created." And I gotta say, man, that right there should be an inspiration to anybody who wants to achieve a project. This guy spent 10 years. I don't know if his brother was involved, but the original RuneScape was 2 people, this guy and his brother. That right there, man, that is dedication to a task and determination to not give up on that task. Because I don't know about you, there are plenty of projects I've started that feel like, fuck, dude, there's no way I'm seeing an end to this. And to spend 10 years on building this game to finally release it, it's got to feel great. It's got to feel great. And I'm very happy for Andrew. I wish him the best. And I'm very excited to check this game out in the future.
The best way I can encourage anybody is if you can think of a successful person, doesn't matter who it is. We're talking video games, books, movies, business. Name somebody that's been successful. And I guarantee you they will tell you that they had a long list of rejection and failure before they finally became successful.
I mean, Jeff Bezos, Mike said Jeff Bezos, but Jeff Bezos, yes and no. He started as a guy who sold books out of his garage. So, granted, he had money.
That's my point.
Yeah.
That's my point, is just because you fail doesn't mean you should give up. In fact, because you fail is the reason why you shouldn't. And so if there's a task that's really difficult and it might take you, in this case, a dozen years or 10 years, I mean, don't give up.
You know,
it doesn't matter if you become as big as, say, RuneScape or PUBG or Ghost Recon or whatever it may be. It doesn't matter. Don't give up.
You know what's a really hard task to achieve that pretty much everybody someday wants to achieve? God, I'm so proud of myself for this segue. Is nobody wants to die. Yeah. Yeah. I'm proud of that fucking segue. Nobody wants to die. Hell yeah.
I'm trying to figure out that one, honestly.
It's a task, man. It's a task everybody wants to achieve.
It's a
Nobody
task
wants
that everyone has failed at.
Yes, exactly. But that doesn't mean we give up.
Single person.
And we never give up. Nobody wants to die. New action game from a company called Critical Hit Games. This is their first game being published by PlayOn. They're notable for their acquisition of Warhorse, the guys who made Kingdom Come. Yeah, for buying a studio. They have some other claim to fame, mostly a smaller company. It looks interesting. It's a cyberpunky noir style action game, and this one
wasn't it? This one investigative as well.
It might. I think so. Yes, maybe. This one, however, Tim, does not have the dreaded attachment to that, which is deck builder. This one is not a deck builder. This one is a good cyberpunk noir action game.
It's an investigative game. It's a detective noir cyberpunk psychological first person detective game.
Yes,
which is interesting.
Hell yeah. Mix of, I'm for it. Things. Here we go. Let's read about the game.
Very
here.
Good, yeah.
So we've got on their Steam page right now. This is open to be added to your wish list. You can't order it yet, but its planned release date is sometime later this year. Lose yourself in the world of New York 2329. Why they chose those years, I don't know, but that's what they did. Where immortality comes at the price that someone has to pay. Following a near-death experience, Detective James Cara takes an off-the-books case from his chief, God damn it! I'm gonna read one of these words right. Takes an off-the-book case from his chief with only the help of a young police liaison, Sarah Kai, to assist him. Time reveals all as they risk everything in pursuit of a killer, uncovering the dark secrets of the city's elite. So this immediately, like that description, gives me Altered Carbon vibes. I don't know if you watched that show on Netflix. Probably one of the best cyberpunk media ever made, and Netflix fucking canned it like assholes. But basically, the premise of that show is humanity defeats mortality by creating what they call what were they, discs or something like that, and they found a way to store kind of like a hard drive. They found a way to store your soul and your consciousness on a disc and then like basically print bodies. So you became this disc and you were immortal unless somebody broke that disc. So you could get hit by a car, you could be killed, and they could just port your consciousness into a new body, you're back alive. The flip to this is obviously it's incredibly expensive and only the elite live forever. And then it goes on to its cyberpunk stuff from there. But this gives me a lot of Altered Carbon vibes, and that show's phenomenal if you haven't watched it.
Slight side tangent. Do you know why Netflix cancels shows that are really popular?
Because they fucking suck? I don't know.
No, because they didn't grow. Literally, if their Netflix user base doesn't grow because of one of the releases that they have, it doesn't matter how popular it is. If it doesn't increase their subscription base, they cancel it.
Well, they're fucked. Fuck them.
It's the stupidest fucking thing ever because Yeah.
If somebody's
people
out there,
people will literally cancel their subscriptions because they cancel the show. But whatever.
If somebody's out there that has money to pick up a show, consider picking up Altered Carbon. Bring it to HBO. Bring it to Hulu. Bring it somewhere. Please, for the love of God, somebody save the best cyberpunk media of all time. It's just that's my tangent. Let's get back to this.
That's better than Cyberpunk 2077.
Oh God, yeah. That game is great. Don't get me wrong, but Altered Carbon is such a phenomenal show, dude. Like, I can't talk about
the show. I've never watched it.
I fucking love it. It's basically Nobody Wants to Die. It's a cyberpunk noir film with all kinds of show with all kinds of shit. Only got 2 seasons. Real disappointing. But I'm looking at the trailer and some of the screenshots here for Nobody Wants to Die, and I was trying to find out what engine they're using. And I'm guessing they're using UE5. And I know that I say that about fucking everything. But the reason I'm saying that this time specifically...
There's some graphical tells.
It's not just that. It's company tells, right? I can't find a website for critical hit games. And I had to dive into the web to find PlayOn's website, which doesn't even list critical hit games on their development team. So they're very new, as far as I can tell. On top of that, smaller companies, generally 9 times out of 10, you have 2 engines to pick from. You're either going Unity.
9 times out of Tim.
9 times out of Tom.
That's a lot of Tom. Oh,
yeah, 9 times out of Tom.
Topics.
Yeah. 9 times out of 10, they're going to pick 1 or 2 engines. It's either going to be Unity or it's going to be Unreal because of the access, the cost, cheapness, all of that. This game does not look like a Unity game, and with the controversy around Unity, which Mike and I talked about on an episode when you weren't available, most people have moved away from it pretty much entirely. I don't know if they ever went back and fixed their model, but it wasn't a good one. They made some bad changes. UE5 got a lot of business. This looks like it's probably UE5. I would be surprised if they had an in-house engine.
I'm on the PlayStation Store at the moment, and there's actually a wish list for the PlayStation Store version of this game, and they directly say that is utilizing UE5.
Cool. So I was right. I couldn't find their website or anything, but dude, there's not a lot to say here. There's some kind of time manipulation. That's really all we know. We don't see any gameplay, but I'm going to tell you this is very likely to be indicative of in-game play footage running on UE5. Nanite tech is phenomenal for lighting, for mesh loading. Lumen. Lumen is great for lighting. There's a lot of potential here. Nanite is a mesh thing.
So Russ, I don't know because you haven't referenced him at all. Logan has actually been talking in the Discord, which, by the way, if you're not part of the Discord and you're listening to us, you should absolutely join the conversation because a lot of it is said on Discord. In any case, the reason why I'm mentioning this, Russ, is Logan has actually been talking on the Discord because he's watching, and he has mentioned you on more than one occasion. He says there is a Godot 2, and it got some indie love and a lot of donations when Unity screwed up. We talked about that a few episodes ago.
So I can't pull up Discord when we're streaming because otherwise, if you're watching the stream, it does this on the camera. So let me just whoop. Bye-bye, cameras. So, because of the way the capture is set up.
Gotcha. Okay, so Logan, I have been reading your stuff. I've been trying to figure out how to throw them in there. In any case, I will keep that in mind that Russ cannot pull them up, and therefore you're more likely to pull them up. Or Logan, if you're or anyone else who might be using the Discord, feel free to talk in the Twitch instead.
Yeah, either that or just message Tim and he can relay your message because the way this is set up, I can't pull up Discord if I'm getting messages there. I have seen that I got 3 little things, but I can't do anything. Otherwise, I'd show everybody my screen.
That's good.
Yep.
Nobody Wants to Die honestly sounds like a really, really intriguing game. Just the genre that it's fitting itself into is like, that sounds really cool. I want to try that. The trailer itself is I mean, I don't know what else to say other than intriguing because there's no gameplay in it.
Yeah.
But the way that they put it all together makes you really want to know what's going on. It's mysterious, but also like sort of bombastic, and it makes you really want to try and figure out what's going on. And the fact that it's a detective game then plays into that desire to know what's going on, so you can then figure out all of that stuff. So it effectively puts that into your hands to figure it out. And the time manipulation on top of everything else is really, really cool.
Yeah.
And I hope they manage to pull it off because it sounds awesome.
Yeah, I'm excited to see how that plays out. We have not seen a lot of games in general that, utilize time. The first two that come to mind are like Prince of Persia. Yeah, Prince of Persia. And then what was the one where like it was it wasn't time.
We talked about it recently, Singularity.
Oh, yes, that was it, Singularity. I'm like, it's not Time Splitters, but that's what's coming to my mind. Time Splitters, you didn't really, like, you fucked with time,
manipulate
but...
it. You just traveled.
Right. But, like, those are the only two that come to mind. I can't think of another game anywhere near recent that really does manipulate time in gameplay. So I'm really curious to see how that rolls in a modern game. The only other one I can think of is, like, Braid did it, but that was an indie game where it was very Prince of Persia style and where you just rewinded. And I think A Hat in Time, again another indie game, had some time manipulation, but nothing on this level that I can think of in recent years.
There's another one I'm thinking of, and for some reason the color yellow is popping up in my head.
Okay.
With that game, yeah, no, it's a strange connection. But now that you mention it, there really is not a large selection of time manipulation games. There are Time Splitters or Time Shift.
Yeah.
I'm looking at it on my shelf, just for those who don't know why I'm looking left. Time Shift, I think, is the one I'm thinking of.
So I pulled up a quick list here on Reddit real quick. Apparently Life is Strange. I never got a chance to play that, but that has some time manipulation.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, it does. Yeah.
They list Skyrim with mods. Dude, Skyrim is everything. So that's not even on this list.
If you're gonna mods.
Yeah, like if you're going to list mods, that's everything. Shut the hell up.
Shut up, Wikipedia.
They list Dishonored, which, okay, you can slow time. I wouldn't call that manipulation, but it's a technical one.
Yeah, that's a stretch.
Super Hot, again, kind of time manipulation.
Also a stretch. No.
Yep.
Doesn't count.
Shadow of Mordor also doesn't count, in my opinion. It's a stretch. But you've got Prince of Persia: Sands of Time, Fear, which I don't remember time manipulation in Fear. I remember like bullet time.
Yeah, no, that's bullet time. It's not. No, time manipulation in the way we're referring to is allowing you to kind of like change the outcome, not slow down time.
Yep. So that takes out Max Payne, which was the next one on this list. Braid is the first one on this list so far besides Prince of Persia that I agree with because it plays a lot like Prince of Persia. Time Shift, that was another game I was trying to remember. That one does have time manipulation.
The one I brought up. Time Shift.
Singularity, Bleed, I'm not familiar with that game. Super Ultra Time Force, not familiar with that one. Frozen Cortex, don't know that one either. 999, don't know that one either. And Thinking with Time Machines.
999 is an anime-based, like essentially visual novel. So
gotcha.
I understand why that one's not very well known.
Yeah, gotcha. And then Thinking with Time
Machines. It's supposed to be really good though.
But that's it. Like that's this area of gameplay. So it's kind of wild to see like a modern game break into this area where realistically you got a handful at best. So I don't know. Could be cool. I'm hoping it's cool.
It's weird because I've had so many good experiences with time manipulation games that like I guess I just expected more games to have it.
Yeah.
But oddly enough, it's a very small selection, at least over the last, I don't know, 15, 20 years.
Right. So that is Nobody Wants to Die. I'm personally excited for it. I can't wait to find out more. Hoping to get my hands on it before the end of the year and actually play it. Love the setting. Love what the team's doing.
I hate to say this, but it's an indie title made by a small company. I wouldn't be surprised if it gets delayed into next year for reasons, especially because they only just announced it. But, who knows? I mean,
it's a possibility.
Yeah.
It's a possibility.
I don't know. Games that are announced very rarely release in a short time span. And when I say short time span, I mean within a year. And they're announcing it here in March, and they're saying it's going to release in 2024, which means, in this case, less than 9 months away.
They could have been working on it for... again, we talked about this with KOTOR, right? Like, KOTOR's been in work for 6 years. If they come out this year and say, hey, it's launching at the end of the year, awesome, right? Like, they just waited until it was ready. It's entirely possible, as a small company, because this is what I would do, that they aren't going to announce this game until they're sure they're going to be able to make that window. If it was me,
but that's
how I would do it.
That's very uncommon in the industry. They very regularly announce a game and we're like, eventually.
And that's very common of larger development teams. Smaller development teams have a little bit more leeway in that.
True, but how many of them actually hit their release dates? That I actually don't know the answer to. I honestly can't really think of a game because most small titles will release in, say, an early access stage, which gives them the leeway to release it whenever they feel like.
Right, which is why early access is the fucking devil. But that's besides the point. Let's talk about, man, I don't have a good segue for this one. The not devil, the anti-devil. Sure, let's go with that. PlayStation 5 Pro leaked. We got some news. I don't know, man. Tim's leaving. Look, man.
Bad segue. Good segue. Bad segue.
They can't all be winners. I don't know what you want from me. They can't all be winners.
Sorry. Continue.
The PS5 leaked. The PS5 Pro. Like legitimately leaked.
This is like it. The best way I can think to put that, this is probably the most legitimate, accurate, and probably 100% accurate leak that we can actually say. You're probably going to see this, because there's been a lot of them for the PS5 Pro over the last year. But given the level of communication and people speaking up and the prominence, that's the word I'm looking for, of people that have spoken up about this. Yeah, this is probably accurate. This is probably what's going to happen.
So the main portion of this leak comes from a YouTuber called Moore's Law is Dead, and I'm going to admit my lack of intelligence here. I don't know what Moore's Law is, but I'm intrigued by that name. Do you know what Moore's Law is?
Moore's Law in particular is the theory that technology, specifically technology, every 2 years doubles in power.
Okay, so that's what that is. I knew
every
it, I didn't know
2 years. Okay. Every 2 years, technology gets twice as good as it was 2 years ago.
Got it.
And it's actually been extremely accurate over the past 60 years. There was a point in time where they thought that, holy shit, it's actually going to slow down. Well, nope. We hit some breakthroughs and it continues to happen.
Yeah.
So,
okay. I knew
Moore's Law is Dead is playing off of that.
Got it.
Moore's Law.
You got it. I knew that term. I didn't know it by Moore's name. So good to know.
Yeah.
So basically, the bottom line, to make this whole thing relatively short, Moore's Law is dead. He made a video kind of going over this stuff, showing stuff. There's a ton of tech going into the PS5 Pro. I mean, ultimately, it's going to be a fucking powerhouse, plain and simple. They're talking about a new style of AI-enhanced rendering. Was it PSSR? Is that what it was? Did you watch the video?
It's effectively PlayStation. It's called PSSR.
That's what it was.
It's effectively PlayStation's DLSS.
Right. But it's supposedly better. Now, he did share a screenshot in the video, but also talked about how he messed with the actual images that were leaked to him to try and help protect his sources in case there was something embedded in them. So they're not good images. It's also an image being shared by Sony, so take it with a grain of salt, because of course they're going to say, hey, we're the best. How the fuck wouldn't you if you're making something? Oh yeah, DLSS, yeah, well, check us out. So of course, internally and externally, they're going to say they're better. So whether that's the case or not remains to be seen.
Before you continue to interject, Logan corrected me in his pedantic way, which he actually worded it that way. He says, to be pedantic, Moore's Law is, a quote, Moore's Law is the observation the number of transistors in an integrated circuit doubles about every 2 years. Moore's Law is an observation and projection of a historical trend rather than a law of physics. It is an empirical relationship linked to gains from experience in production. So what you said is what the law has been shorthanded into, just like so many other things. So,
yeah. It's like when everybody fucks up Murphy's Law and says anything that can happen, or anything that will go wrong, will go wrong. When it's
will.
Except for it's anything that can happen will happen, whether it's good or bad. So
people shorthanded into that, which is what I did with Moore's Law. Yes.
Yeah. So I mean, across the board, you're seeing massive improvements with the PlayStation Pro. The biggest one is 67 teraflops of 16-bit.
I thought it was 33.5.
It's 33.5, 32-bit. So that's the thing, is it's
fair enough.
It's written as 67 T-flops of 16-bit. You multiply that or divide that by 2 to get the 32-bit, which is still, I think, like 30 or 40 teraflops more than the Series X, which was like their whole big push.
We're
like that
the most
fucking,
powerful console ever.
Who fucking cares? Who fucking cares? I don't even really care about this number, but people are
even
going
the
to.
architect of the PlayStation 5 and PS4 straight up said that hell, developers years before this stated that teraflops are really, really bad metric to say this is the most powerful, or this is the metric of power in a console. So you take this with a grain of salt. Yep. Yes, it has 33.5 or 67 teraflops of power. So this is not the metric you should gauge the power on. However, it is still up to a 3 times stronger GPU on the PS5 Pro than the PS5 standard.
The metrics.
So that right there is a decent jump, no matter how you slice it.
What percent said it sounds like we're making up new number names. Yeah, basically, man. That's basically it. The numbers, however, you should pay attention to are the fact that the PS5 is supposedly capable of rendering at 45% faster speed than the base model, which that's almost half.
Double.
Yeah, like that's a big jump. On top of that, its ray tracing performance is said to be somewhere between double to triple the current system's performance. That's a huge jump.
It's a big jump. It's a much bigger jump than PS4 to PS4 Pro. It's a much bigger jump than that, and that's just GPU, let alone the other things as well.
Yeah, scaling or their PSSR, whatever the hell they call it, they're upscaling, that kind of stuff. Yep. They're saying that they're going to be capable of supporting 8K resolution. My quick take on that.
The standard PS5 also states that it's capable of that.
Who the fuck cares?
More or less. It's so minimally accepted or adopted.
Yeah, it's not in TVs. I mean, maybe if you have like cutting edge, top of the line TV, you might be getting 8K TVs. But again, we're at the same place we were when 4K was the supported format, and TVs were still barely over 1080p. It's not necessary. It doesn't matter. It's marketing bullshit. Bigger numbers make people happy.
Honestly, what I expected of all these, they've been to throw a few more numbers out there. They're saying that there's now going to be hardware accelerated ray tracing instead of just software like the PS5 had. So that alone is actually a pretty big jump, and it's going to be doing It's going to be doing it in such a way that the NVIDIA hardware does it as well, meaning NVIDIA graphics cards. So it's actually going to be proper ray tracing. Yeah. So the PS5 Pro is expected to see a roughly 3 times jump in ray tracing performance. On top of that, and in some cases 4 times. But more or less what we're expected to see is faster load times, which is already insane considering the PS5 already loads in like seconds at max most of the time. But we're going to see better pixel density. We're going to see better load times. We're going to be seeing longer line of distance or line of...
Load distance?
The distance, yeah. The LOD is what it's called. The distance at which things load. You're going to see better... ray tracing in all the ways, not just light bouncing and ray tracing reflections, but you're going to see ray traced shadows and ray traced all sorts of things.
Reflections. It's going to be.
Ray tracing is also used in sound as well. People don't realize that, but the sound in the game is actually used via ray tracing because the way it's done is the way it's done in the real world, and therefore it can be used in more than just visuals.
Makes sense.
In any case, we're going to see a really big jump, assuming this is accurate, but given who stated it, it sounds like this is basically what's going to be the case. The only thing I really worry about is price.
Yeah, so let's get into that, because there's 2 topics technically 3 more topics that I really wanted to talk about. 1 was price, 2 is size, and then 3 is competition, right? So let's save the price for the end. Let's kind of close out the episode, I think, for the end. The PS5, when it launched, was a fucking monster. That thing is huge. Like I didn't realize how big it was. Like, yeah, that's dude, that's the size of a full-grown man's torso.
Yeah, you might be able to see it behind me. Like he just said, it's the size of a torso. Like my torso. That thing is huge.
Yeah.
I mean, just look at it compared to my TV. It's pretty darn big.
Yeah.
That's a 56-inch TV.
So, I mean, I'm looking at my computer case right now. I've got a mid tower, and I'm looking at my computer case, and looking at this, looking at that. I think my case is probably maybe the same height as one of those PlayStation 5s, and maybe like 3 of them wide, if you were standing them vertically, is my computer case. So that's how big that fucking thing is. It's ridiculous. Now, they released the refresh, which obviously shrunk it down a little bit. They changed the cooling, things like that. Do we think we're going to see a smaller form factor for the Pro? Because technically, as tech advances, it gets smaller, right?
Smaller. Yeah.
But do we think we're going to see the man torso again? Or are we going to see something closer or maybe even smaller to the latest PS?
So the PS4 Pro was bigger than the PS4, right?
Slightly. It was a little bit taller.
Not
a little bit,
much,
yeah,
but it was a bit bigger.
Yeah.
But the PS4 also did have a Slim, which was minimally smaller than the PS4.
Mm-hmm.
And right now we're following that trend with the PlayStation 5. The PlayStation 5 Slim, even though Sony says it's not Slim, is minimally smaller than the PlayStation 5. And so I can expect to see
slightly bigger,
similar sizing.
Yeah.
If at most a little bit bigger. Which sucks because the shelf behind me is custom built by me to fit consoles before the PlayStation 5 generation. So
the only reason I don't think we'll see it the size as the PS5 is because of the changes in cooling, right? So the cooling was 90% of the size of the PS5, if I'm not mistaken. I've seen a couple of teardowns, and the cooling system is massive in the 5.
The heat sink on that thing is ridiculous.
Yeah.
And so that was one of the big factors of the PlayStation 5 was to make sure it was silent.
Mm-hmm.
They wanted it to be as silent as possible, and they did a really good job of that. So they could forego the silence in favor of power, so long as they have a decent cooling system that allows them to make it smaller form factor. So honestly, I really don't expect it to be any bigger than the PlayStation 5 standard.
I just wonder how they're going to aesthetically match it into their lineup. That's the other side of that too. Like, are we going to stick with the Wi-Fi router look? Which it's grown on me. I'll be honest, I wasn't a big fan of it. I think the PS4 is the best version of it. I just love trapezoids, I guess. I don't fucking know. Didn't know that about myself, but apparently I do. But like, the design of the PS5 has grown on me, so I'm curious to see what they end up doing aesthetically with it.
Yeah, there's no way they're going to go away from it at this point.
Yeah.
I mean, you look at the PlayStation 5 Slim, it's the same thing, just slightly changed. They're definitely going to keep that same design, although... So here's my expectation. So the PlayStation 5 Pro is going to release as a digital-only console.
Mm-hmm.
There is going to be no disc version.
Yep.
And the reason why is because the PlayStation 5 Slim has a digital and a disc version, but the disc version is that detachable disc drive.
Mm-hmm.
Therefore, the PlayStation 5 Pro, when you buy it digitally only. But if you want a disc drive, you have to buy that already existing disc drive.
Mm-hmm.
It doesn't make sense to have two separate models. One, if you want the disc drive, go buy it.
Yeah.
Which for them is monetarily advantageous. And then two, for me, it kind of sucks. But, what can I do? It's one model. They don't have to worry about anything else. Keep what exists already. It's simpler. It's cheaper. The R&D is faster, and therefore they can support both digital and physical only. Anyways.
Yeah, that's
so.
A good point.
As far as therefore, it's probably going to be almost exactly the same as the PlayStation 5 Slim or whatever you want to call it, just bigger.
Yeah,
that'd be my guess.
Interesting. That's a good point. I didn't even consider that. Maybe we'll see a more reasonable price tag than the way we did with the digital version versus the disc version, where it was $100 cheaper for the digital version. So maybe we'll see.
Considering they don't make the PlayStation 5 original anymore, it's literally only the Slim.
Mm-hmm.
I don't expect. I expect this to be the first quote price drop for the PlayStation 5.
Right.
The PlayStation 5 Slim models will drop in price. And then the PlayStation 5 Pro will fit that original price model of $500.
I think it's going to be more. But we'll get to that in a second. Here's the big can of worms. And And I almost want to fucking shove my foot in my mouth and choke myself for even going here, because we go here all the fucking time. Microsoft doesn't have a mid-gen refresh. And
no, they don't. They've already stated they won't.
I'm tired of talking about them, but like you said, they've said they are not doing that. What is that going to look like for cross-console gaming in the future, for like developing for both of these systems? If Microsoft, no game is really going to be able to maximize its use in the PS5 Pro unless it's an exclusive or designed for PlayStation first, if it's also got to somehow manage to fit on the lack of upgraded hardware from the Xbox Series consoles. Like, I mean, Baldur's Gate had a fucking nightmare of a time trying to get it on their system.
Before I address you, I'm going to address Logan, because he's just typing his butt off in Discord. And I have yet to address him at this point. Logan, I'm hoping I am correct in this regard, that they will drop the price of the PlayStation 5, because it's almost 4 years. At the end of this year, November, it'll be 4 years since the PlayStation 5 launched. It has been absolutely due for a price drop for a long time now. And so if they increase the price, even if they release it at $550, I think it's a misstep, because the industry and the economy suggests you're correct. But in order to make people more willing to spend an additional $500 or whatever, increasing prices after 4+ years is a misstep, in my opinion. Mm-hmm. And I don't think that that's going to garner a lot of sales, which, if you look at the PlayStation 4 Pro, it didn't sell terribly well in comparison to the PlayStation 4, which sold at this point near 120 million consoles, roughly. I think it's like 110, something like that right now. They want to obviously sell more. They don't want to just be the most powerful console, and this is a premium console the way Xbox did it last gen. That's stupid. They want to sell more consoles. They want to be the most powerful and most successful console ever. And right now, they're on track to beat the PS2. So they have to find a way to keep that record and that track going. Now, with now addressing you, Russ,
all right.
with the Xbox having no competition, this only supports what we've been saying for the last year. Mm-hmm. They don't care about hardware; they care about software and retaining players.
Yeah.
If they don't have a competitor, who cares? They want to sell their games. A couple of weeks ago, we spoke about the Xbox going third party, and sure, they're only starting with a couple of games, but everything points that everything is going to eventually be multi-platform. They don't care about competing. I mean, everyone and their mother is talking about how the PlayStation 5 Pro will be the absolute best place to play GTA 6 because the Pro is available.
Yeah.
And other than the PC, of course. But the best console experience is going to be on the PlayStation 5 Pro.
I would argue that out the gate, most games are better on console than PC at this point.
Exactly, but also the fact that the game's not launching on PC at launch. It's console only. Mm-hmm. So the PlayStation 5 Pro will be the best place to play it for at least a year, or roughly, in any case. Xbox doesn't care. They don't care. And so...
Yeah. I mean,
they're gonna let Sony push that front that they were 5 years ago trying to push, because they don't care. They want you to buy games, want to get Game Pass, they want to do all these things. The fact that they've convinced Square Enix to force Game Pass on Final Fantasy subscribers shows they don't care.
Yeah.
The fact that they're releasing their games on other hardware that's not Xbox shows they don't care. I don't know what else.
Yeah.
They don't care.
It's just wild. We're drastically getting closer to a world where Xbox releases games on PlayStation, and it's coming soon, soon.
Very soon.
Yeah.
This month, actually.
Yeah. But like, I mean, to the point where they're Sega. You know, I mean, we're getting to that point. Sega. So, I mean, we kind of hit on it. You're thinking this is going to be $5.99 when it drops.
I'm hopeful for $4.99.
Okay. You're thinking it's going to be that same.
So we've had this before. Mm-hmm. I have been extremely, I'm going to say, lucky.
Yes, I would agree with that statement.
Since PlayStation 3, I think. PlayStation 3, I'm talking all video game tech. I have been within $50 range accuracy. And that's a fairly long period of time. That's a little over 10 years. of being accurate on every piece of video game tech. And I'm not trying to toot my own horn here. I just hope I continue that accuracy with this, because again, I'm looking at the industry, I'm looking at the economy. I mentioned it earlier this episode. I can see it going both ways. I can see Logan being correct because he states that he thinks he's accurate, but he hopes I'm accurate.
Mm-hmm,
you know.
Mm-hmm. What was Logan's number? What's our unofficial third host's number that he said?
He's expecting. You hear that, Logan? You're the unofficial third host. Sorry, Mike.
Mike's the guest host.
He is expecting $50 price increase, so $550.
Okay, $550.
That is. I don't know. Like I said, this is one of those ones where I'm actually the least confident, simply because of everything that's going on in the world and tech and everything else.
Yeah, it's a weird time.
I can see that. Yeah, I can see that $50 increase, but 4 freaking years and no decrease in price, literally none whatsoever. And in fact, the PlayStation 5 digital only got an increase in price.
Mm-hmm.
That doesn't bode well. Except for the fact that it's been 4 years. At this point, there's got to be consumer fatigue in price.
Yeah.
Sure, they're still selling super well, and they're still beating the PlayStation 2 in terms of long-term sales, but it's not going to stay that way if they don't eventually decrease the price. Sony has more than once said that the golden price point was a lower price point. So they eventually have to move their pricing downwards, especially as the hardware gets older. So I'm just looking at it as objectively as possible in hopes that I'm accurate. I'm just not confident this time around, because I've been pretty confident in the past.
So here's my thought process. Right now, on Amazon, you can get the PS5 Digital Edition Marvel Spider-Man 2 bundle for $3.99.
Yeah.
Okay.
That's been their quote price drop.
Right.
Throw games in there and stuff. Yep.
Yeah. Which, okay, $3.99 is a relatively good deal.
Yep.
I don't think this console, when it releases, and I'm hoping I'm wrong when I say this, because I think you're both wrong on the price point for this next console, because Sony knows they're not going to sell a lot of these. They know this will not be the big money maker for them, because the 4 wasn't. The 4 Pro didn't, like, it sold well, but it definitely did not sell as well as, the regular and the Slim. Because most consumers of this stuff are not the end. Well, and they're not the end user. It's generally parents buying this stuff for their kids,
which means they care about price.
Right.
The cheaper, the better.
Yeah, and they're not the end user. So if they see one console that's one price and one console that's another, and they're just trying to make their kid happy for Christmas, because again, this is coming November. I can almost guarantee you it'll be November. They're going to go for the cheaper one. Sony's going to know that. I think price point out the gate for the Pro, I think the digital current version is going to remain the same, and I think this version is going to be $5.99. I think the Pro is going to be $5.99.
The only reason why I don't think that's the case is because this is actually the one area that I am confident.
Okay.
It will not release with that disc drive. There won't be two SKUs.
It won't.
There won't be. It'll be digital only.
You're right.
And if you want a disc drive, you have to buy that separate one.
Mm-hmm.
And if they've released it at $5.99, that means you have to pay another $80 for a disc drive.
Yep.
And that's going to price it close to $700. And we've actually discussed this before, that if Microsoft gets out of the hardware game, which it appears to be so, then Sony
can do whatever the fuck they want. Yep.
Exactly. They can do whatever they want to. And this would make them look extremely bad to a lot of people.
The only reason I disagree with that, like, that's my thought, like, that's my fear. That's why I don't want to be right, is because that would be them setting, like, well, this is the new standard. We are the only place, But here's why I think what you're saying doesn't really apply, and that's only because that disk drive, as we've learned, is optional.
Yes. Before you continue, Logan, probably the next one would be like Final Fantasy or Fortnite, something like that. He was talking about how he doesn't care about GTA, he doesn't care about Call of Duty, etc. What group can alienate next? And so I gave him some ideas.
Gotcha. There you go. I think because it's optional, they're going to go, well, you don't have to buy a disc drive. And most people aren't going to opt. Again, if you've already got a PS5, the physical market is shrinking. It is. It's disappearing.
Shut up with your facts and logic, damn it.
The physical market is shrinking. Go take a walk through Walmart and tell me how many games you see for the Xbox there. There's not a lot anymore. There's probably not a lot.
As we know, the 75% roughly of Xbox Series consoles are the digital only. Therefore, they don't care about it. If I'm not mistaken, within the last 2 years, I don't remember exactly when, but within the last 2 years, digital has become the de facto, or at least the majority, way of consuming video games. And it's been that way for CDs and movies and such for a long time. But video games finally crossed that threshold of the majority of them are digital. I'm one of the last bastions of that, and there are plenty of me out there.
But there's definitely still collectors, but again, because it's an optional attachment, I could 100% see Sony saying this is a $600 device.
I just hope that's inaccurate. Because
I do too. Because I don't want to shell. I don't want to shell $600 out for this. That's half the cost of my That's more than half the cost of my graphics card. But here's the bottom line. I'm fucking gonna because I want to play.
And that's the problem. I'm in that boat too. I'm gonna if they do it. I'm gonna be begrudgingly do it, but I'm gonna do it. And they probably know there's plenty of people out there that would do so. I mean, hell, there was a conversation on Twitter recently, or X and formerly known as Twitter, where someone stated that the power increase from a 3080 to a 4090 or something like that wasn't worth it, even though it's a 2 times increase. Even though it's a 2 times increase, it's not worth it
because of the price point.
However, because of the price point. However, the PlayStation 5, the PlayStation 5 Pro is worth it, even though it's only a 45% jump, quote. Although the price point, that's what I've been trying to tell this guy for the past couple of days. Like, it doesn't matter that this one is a better, quote, deal with the graphics card. It's still more expensive. That's what matters. And that's why I'm like hoping that I'm accurate in this regard, and I don't know how else to say it. I'm hoping, given the time, although let me go back to 8 minutes ago. Logan, yes, our unofficial, in this case, probably official third party or third host, he says the cost for fab space on TSMC keeps going up, meaning it is not cheaper to produce graphics cards and CPUs. So even if they can save money somewhere else, the price of said CPU and GPU might still force them to keep the price higher. And I'm hoping that's not the case, only because they want to keep the good graces of gamers on their side. And like 4 years is the longest any console has ever gone without a price drop. And I think they're really pushing it if they keep it at 500. They're pushing it to keep it at 500, let alone go up 50 or 100.
We'll see, man. We'll see. I'm going to say this, though. I'm calling November is the absolute release date of this device. November 2024 is the date. I'm going to take a fucking shot in the dark and say it's going to be announced on the 8th or released on the 8th of November. That is when you will be first able to buy it.
Interestingly specific date. I expect to see an announcement in June or July. And they're going to pull a Fallout in the sense of, hey, look, we're coming out with this. Leaks were accurate, even though they don't say it that way. The leaks are accurate, and you can have this in a couple of months. And we'll hopefully see a price point. But at the same time, Sony, if I'm not mistaken, doesn't like to announce price points when they announce their hardware. So we'll probably see a price point
later,
like just before, which I hate to say it, but it bodes well in your favor and more expensive in the sense of they're going to wait for just before launch. Oh, by the way, 700.
Don't get me wrong, dude. I don't want this to be the case either. Like I know. Really don't. But it to me, that's the price point that makes sense. And I hope I'm wrong. But we have had quite a long episode tonight and talked about a lot of good content. I hope you guys really all enjoyed the episode, everything we talked about. Let us know what you thought. Let us know what you think of Nobody Wants to Die, our coverage of the other couple of games that we talked about, Ghost Recon Rumors, the new RuneScape game, Brighter Shores, as well as the PUBG updates, if you give a shit about that. Tim, any final words, thoughts before we leave?
Yeah, so I meant to mention this both in the beginning and the end, but I forgot the beginning, so we'll do the end only. As I stated last episode, there will be a 1-year anniversary giveaway of a Humble Bundle choice. That's the word I'm looking for. The Humble Bundle choice, meaning I'm going to give you a subscription of this service for PC games for, I don't know how long yet. I haven't decided that. Details coming later. I will be giving away a subscription to a Humble Bundle choice for PC on a 1-year anniversary.
Yep.
Come check it out. We will give you details next week.
Yep. Next episode, we'll talk about that. And don't worry, Mike will cut that and put it at the beginning of the episode like he did on the last one, I'm sure. So you'll be hearing it at the top as well. Yeah, more details follow. We will definitely hash that out, figure out exactly what that looks like, and make that very clear on our next recording next Saturday, which will come out the week of our 1-year anniversary. So stay tuned for that. Thanks again for joining us here, and make sure to follow us over at Discord. And
tell your mom I said.
And that one. Have a great night, everyone. Thanks for stopping by.